Welcome to another episode of Hanson Athletics Radio. This is your host, Coach Darren Hanson. We really appreciate you taking the time to connect with us today. Hanson Athletics provides no BS performance-based information for coaches, trainers, athletes, and business owners alike. Our insights come from decades of experience in the collegiate and private sector. If you guys have any follow-up questions, feel free to connect with us and reach out at any time. I hope you guys enjoy the episode. After making the last video about the top mistakes I see in sprinting, I actually got a ton of questions about where to start, particularly for athletes. I got this from coaches, I got this from individual athletes. So I wanted to make a little breakdown. We won't go too deep into everything, but I wanted to share with you guys where you can start mentally on planning what you're going to do with your sprint work if you're looking to get faster, quicker, and whatnot. So with sprinting, what we're looking for is a minimum of 2 times a week, max 3 times a week. I've seen people try to do way too much here, and we'll get into this in a little bit. Okay, so again, 2 times a week to 3 times a week. I would say in season, 1 to 2. Out of season, you can go up to that 3. You're gonna have to progressively overload to that. You may, when you first get into sprinting and actually running as fast as possible, find that you get sore, you're under recovered, and it takes a little bit of time to get back on your feet and ready to sprint again. So first, a couple points. Long rest periods. Start out with 1 minute for every 10 yards to keep it simple. So if you do a 20-yard sprint, you're resting 2 minutes, 30-yard sprint, 3 minutes, and whatnot. So when we get into those longer sprints, yes, you will be resting 5 to 7 minutes between full sprints. Next, you want to time. So finding a way to time your sprints, whether that's anything as basic of a stopwatch and a buddy, all the way to lasers or free lap cones. You're going to want to track this. Again, this can be as simple as a notepad, writing down what you're getting on your times and your miles per hour each week, all the way to something like universal speed rating where you're actually inputting it into a software platform. It needs to be max intensity. It can't be a conditioning style. It can't be 30-second rest periods, 20-second rest periods. You need to have that long rest period and then run as fast as you possibly can. If I was going 2 times a week to kick it off, I would start out with an Excel day. This is usually loaded or can be loaded. You can also use a hill. So if you don't have equipment, you don't have sleds, you can just go to hill sprints, where we're looking at 0 to 20 yards, potentially starting at 3 reps when you first get into it. So 3 full speed reps. You're still going to do your prep, your technique, your warm up, but 3 full reps, and then working up to 5 reps is where we kind of get our athletes at. If we're going to lift after this, we're going to pair it with heavier movements and loads. Thinking about our plyos, we're going to be doing long ground contact time, so high intensity plyos. Think depth drops, think loaded jumps, things where we're spending a lot of time on the ground. This is going to tie back in with what the emphasis is of the day, and that's being able to create power and produce it in the right direction. Your second day is going to be your top speed day. Big thing to think about, I want to start with, is you're going to need a 48-hour recovery typically between these days. So that's why I typically will hit this 1 time a week with most of our athletes. If you are sprinting consistently for a certain amount of time, you might be able to do this twice a week. But if you're also playing a sport, I would say you want to hit this 1 time a week. And think about, when is my next game? Do I have a 48-hour window in recovery before I have to run full speed again? The goal is to hit 95% of your top speed every week, okay? So that goes back to the importance of timing and tracking. This is the adaptation that we want to create, so we need to hit that speed. If you are unable to hit 95%, it's also great feedback. Number 1, are you recovered? Are you spending as much time outside of the weight room or outside of the sport to recover between efforts? Are you getting sick? Do you have an injury? Stuff like that. So this is a great way to see where you're at as an athlete on your recovery and base it on more than just how you're feeling. The reason we need to hit this weekly, and it's really important, is the speed diminishes within 3 to 5 days. So it's the adaptation that goes away the quickest for athletes, the principle of reversibility. Your strength, your aerobic capacity are going to last 2 to 4 weeks minimum. Your speed is going to start to drop after 3 to 5 days of not touching that top speed. What we like to do is we time it when we get a fly 10 and we convert that to mile per hour. Again, this is can be super easy. If you guys have further questions on that, let me know. There's a basic formula or a lot of apps that do that for you. But we're going to be timing and tracking, and then we're going to get our fastest top speed over 10 yards, and then track that in mile per hour. So you'll see in our facility we have athletes that join mile per hour clubs, and that's the reason why. Typically we're going to see 30 to 60 yards, and this is very nuanced. Like if you are, right now we're in Idaho, it's a winter, right? So we don't have the opportunity to go outside and sprint really. If there's snow on the ground, whatever, it's too cold. So that's why I put that 30 in there. Typically I'd say 40, 60 yards. I put 30 in there so that you can hopefully find a way to create that space to sprint. I think if you do diagonal on a basketball court, you can do that. There's a lot of options in that 30-yard range. But 30 to 60 yards, you can again start potentially at like a 30-yard, and then over the weeks progress towards 60 yards. I would just capture the 10 from the end of the run. So if it's the 60-yard run, the 50 to 60. If it's a 50-yard run, the 40 to 50. You're going to start out, again, you can aim for 3 reps. This might be a lot when you start. If you can even get 1 to 2 full speed reps and feel like you ran as fast as possible and are able to hit that 95% plus, you can sit around there. Don't push it. This is where you'll start to feel, if you're getting back into sprinting, oh, my hamstrings are getting tight. I just feel a little off. You can just call it. Okay. So over time, we want to work up to 5. 5 reps would be probably the maximum that I would do on that. And then in the weight room, we're going to pair that with fast movements. So this is where we think about like bar velocity, looking at intent with the lifts. So the weight's a little bit lighter and we're trying to move really fast because we're pairing the demands of top speed with what we're doing in the weight room. Big thing to think about with the weight room though, is it shouldn't inhibit your ability to sprint. So if you in your training are going so hard in the weight room that you're sore every day and you can't come in and run full speed at least once a week over 95%, you need to back off a little bit in the weight room. Okay, especially if you're an athlete. If you're a strength athlete, no. But if you are a sport, if you're playing traditional sports, you're going to need to be able to show up and run full speed once a week. So keep it pretty general in the weight room and extreme in your speed. Lastly, if we think about plyos, we're looking for short ground contact times. This is more extensive plyos. Getting off the ground as quickly as possible, trying to get that stretch reflex, and focusing on developing fascia and the ability to move quickly off the ground, absorb load, and redirect. So that'd be the basic dive into, okay, I want to start sprinting. I know athletes need a sprint. Where do I start? If you guys have any further questions, let me know. A lot of different opportunities for me to kind of break these down, go through different pieces for you. We can make a podcast on it, whatever you guys need. So I hope you guys have a great day. And we made it. Thanks for listening to the episode. If you have any further questions, please reach out via any social media channels or our website, and make sure to check out our on-site and online training options. We appreciate you taking the time to listen to the episode. If you have any further topics you'd like to discuss, let us know and we'll make sure to cover them. Thank you.